what's left for Nebraska. 22 commits. It's about as many as you'd expect anyone to take, especially in this transfer portal era. You just don't push this number very often as far as this many high school recruits. But Rhule has said he doesn't want to live on the portal. He wants to build from He wants to build from the first shelf on up. Doesn't want to jump those guys with portal recruits. He's trying to build his version of Nebraska, his culture. Nebraska right now, Sip, has the 4th most commits of any team in the country.
That's amazing.
26 leads the way. They have 22. That just doesn't happen very often at Nebraska, just because of the geography of where we're at and the approach Nebraska has taken in past years. But 22 commits. I think Grant Brix is probably priority number 1. They've got to get a true tackle. Caden Massey out of Kansas chose Kansas State on Thursday night, and that was a tackle they were on. Now they have to get Grant Brix. And this is another battle between K-State and Nebraska. Oklahoma's in there. Alabama's in there. But I think it's a K-State versus Nebraska battle. The X factors, Carter Nelson, Daniel Kalen, I think they have a pretty good relationship with Grant Brix.
Well, yeah, I mean, now don't get me started on this, but you're exactly right. I mean, we said previously, 3 good interior offensive linemen. This looks like a tackle to you, though, right, Sean? This is a tackle
for sure.
Okay, so now get another tackle and keep building inside. Building the trenches. We don't talk about it enough. We don't. I mean, if you look at what's going on around you, Sean, you look what happened. I just was thinking about this last night. You look at, we moved on quickly from the Michigan game last November because nobody expected Nebraska to win. Stay with me, Sean.
What am I?
Stay with me.
Michigan, I'm listening to you.
Michigan. Remember how they bullied Nebraska? Remember how Michigan up front pushed Nebraska routinely back 7, 8, 9 yards in that game?
On that cold November flurry-filled Ann Arbor Saturday.
Right. Michigan rushed 49 times for 264 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. Nebraska rushed 29 times for 75 yards. If you just showed me that stat, I'd say, well, Michigan probably won by 21. Well, they won 34-3. All right. Michigan ran 69 plays. Nebraska ran 49. How are you going to win? Okay, so what's Michigan? Some are picking them to win a national title because their offensive line has won the Joe Moore Award 2 straight years and probably could win it in a 3rd straight years. You know what? Up front on defense, Sean, they're saying at Michigan it's the deepest and best they've been up front on defense since the 90s. Okay, that's Michigan. Everybody's talking about Michigan. A lot of people are starting to talk about Penn State. You know why? It's not because they got a fancy wideout or a nice group of corners. You know why they're talking about him? Because they got the best offensive line they've had in years, Penn State.
They got men.
And you know why else? They got 10 of their 12 defensive linemen returning. How are you going to beat them if you're deficient up front? They're just going to bully you all day long. They're going to hold the ball. You're not going to get enough plays. And then on offense, you're not probably moving it much. So this is where Nebraska's got to we have to continue to harp on that. It's good getting good receivers and corners and defense.
Those are easy to get. There's 64-star receivers a year.
Right. I mean, it's the dudes up front that have to be prioritized. And I'm heartened that Rhule prioritizes.
There ain't 64-star tackles a year.
No, it's hard to get them. So Brix, go back to Brix. Big. He's right. He's a neighbor. You know, he's right. He's in Iowa. And that's a tough pull. But, man, if you can get the top player in Nebraska and the top player from Iowa, and one of those guys is an offensive tackle and another one is a big kid, that's a big horse, and Carter Nelson, 6'5", 220 right now. That's a statement.
Well, and Nick Saban prioritizing him with an offer should tell you what – I mean, absolutely. They want him. But, yeah, you think about those tackle numbers in the program. Yes, so the front end of the roster, they have Turner Corcoran and they have guys like Teddy Prohaska, but Bryce Benhart. But they need younger tackles in this program. Tyler Knack from the transfer from Utah. Okay. He's a redshirt freshman.
Okay.
Mason Goldman from Gretna, probably a tackle, could be a guard. Don't know. Okay. We don't know. Sam Sledge, guard. Brock Knutson, tackle. Gunnar Gatula, probably a guard, could play tackle. But they need a legit tackle in this class to develop and build, because you're only going to get Teddy Prohaska for a few more years. Mm-hmm. guys like Corcoran and Benhart, they may or may not play a 6-year of college football.
Good point.
We don't know.
Good point.
They both have that extra COVID year. They have to make a decision with after the season's over with what they want to do. Now, Corcoran wouldn't be a 6-year. It'd be his 5th year. But Benhart 2024 would be his 6th year. So they've got to get a tackle, and I think Grant Brix is the guy.
So needs remaining in 2024, tackle or maybe 2, right? Maybe.
1 for sure.
Okay. How about another running back?
No,
Really?
I think they need a pass. The real needs right now are offensive tackle,
Pass
rusher, linebacker.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of question about the overall commitment of Willis McGahee, the 4th, the linebacker.
Yeah, and he's the only one in the class, the only linebacker in the class.
So they need to get linebacker needs to be kind of emphasized. And there's some questions like, could some of these defensive backs be linebackers like Rex Guthrie?
Yeah.
The one that actually could be, it would surprise people, but Roger Gradney is, he's 200 pounds now. He's the guy that has the body and the frame that could grow into something like that. He could even be a ball carrier, a running back. I mean, he's got a body they can build, and that is what it feels like. Rhule's is trying to bring athletes into his program and move them around.
Well, I mean, when I think about what they need at linebacker, I'm not thinking about a safety you can convert and he's 215. I'm thinking about MJ Sherman or Luke Reimer, those kind of guys. They're 225, 230, 250, Sean. Or Jamari Butler. That's the kind of linebacker I'm talking about. I think that, hey, Sean, I would say right now that's a glaring need in this class. A glaring need. Is that overstating it?
No question.
Glaring need.
I mean, they have to get more of those guys in this class.
That's what we got to watch.
And those are the premium spots left. I mean, they've got plenty of receivers and defensive backs right now, and a quarterback and interior O lineman, kind of interior type D lineman, but they need the money players.
Right.
What are the money players? Pass rushers and tackles.
Could I talk you into maybe another defensive lineman, or they just got too many in the previous class?
You got to remember a year ago, let's go back to what the numbers were last year. I mean, they've got good numbers there from last year's recruiting class. I got to retype in scholarship distribution chart here. Hold on. They had, you look at what they did on the D line, the freshmen, they got 5.
Right.
They have 6. They have 6.
Yeah,
6
that's
freshmen. Vincent Carroll Jackson, Riley Van Poppel, Cam Lenhart,
okay,
Sualafatu, Jason Shake Shack Machachek.
Right. Those are
Prince
big men.
Umanyalan.
Yeah.
God,
Those are big men.
I got that, by the way.
Yeah, I think you got that.
And then you got Brody Tagaloa as a redshirt freshman. So they have 7 scholarship dudes that carry freshmen or redshirt freshmen right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out.
Because they moved Jason Shake Shack Machachek over to the D line.
Shake Shack.
I like saying that.
It's a great nickname. It's one of the better nicknames you'll find. Okay, I think you talked me into them not maybe needing one other D lineman, but I go back to what Tony White said when we first met him, Sean, the new defensive coordinator. When he was asked, what are your needs? He said, you always need big men. Yeah, you can't have enough big men. If I were, God forbid, the head coach, I would try to get another D lineman in this round. Another D lineman.
Well, you got 22. How many more can you take?
One more.
I mean, there's 8 seniors on the roster and then an unknown group of COVID juniors. So that's the problem. The squeeze out of this roster of what it's going to look like on the other end. But
if I'm Terrence Knight, I'm scouring the earth for him. And then if I get one, I'm convincing Rhule, come on, let's take one more.
And they thought Joseph Anderson was one they wanted.
And then I'd give it.
Probably going to go to Iowa.
I would, if I was Terrence Knight, I'd convince him to get one more. Then I'd say, watch the HuskerOnline podcast and Sipple laying out what Penn State and Michigan are doing. Let's take one more.